Fox 54 verifies all your burning questions about everything. Is all cannabis the same? Does it cost more to heat than cool your home? Here's what we checked out this week. Delta-9, hemp, cannabis, marijuana, a lot of lingo sometimes thrown about without clear definitions. It's happened even more in recent days since the federal government imposed a new hemp ban. But what do those terms actually mean? Aren't they all the same thing? Let's verify. While the legal status of marijuana has been a hot issue for decades now, not all of us are familiar with the language tied to the topic. Legislators and opponents alike throw around terms like Delta, THC, and hemp as if we all know precisely what they mean. Isn't it all just marijuana? We verify. Our sources are Jennifer Boozer Stewart with the Alabama Cannabis Coalition and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. According to the FDA, cannabis sativa L is a plant that contains more than 80 different naturally occurring compounds called cannabinoids. Two well-known cannabinoids are CBD and THC. THC is the psychoactive compound in cannabis that produces a high. There are several types of THC in the plant, but raw plants are high in THCA, which converts into Delta-9 THC with the application of heat. CBD is non-psychoactive and does not cause intoxication. CBD primarily interacts with CB2 receptors, which are more involved in regulating pain and inflammation. Cannabis plants are grown to produce varying concentrations of these cannabinoids. Delta-8, 9, 10, and THCA are all types of THC cannabinoids or products of the cannabis plant. Stewart with the Alabama Cannabis Coalition tells us that hemp is a legal term that means the plant meets the federal legal limit of 0.3% Delta-9 THC by dry weight. In other words, it has very little that would alter your mood. Marijuana is also a legal term, meaning it exceeds the federal limit and contains more than 0.3% Delta-9 THC. Delta-9 THC by dry weight is the primary distinguishing difference between hemp and marijuana. So we can confirm that no, not all cannabis products are the same. If you have something you want us to verify, text us at 256-382-2692. It's the time of year where we all hear that our utility bills are going to be more and more expensive. Some may even budget for it. But what about the summertime? Doesn't the heat of the Alabama summer carry a greater cost than the cold of the winter? Let's verify. Between the space heaters, the electric fireplace, and all the Christmas lights, many of us dread our utility bill this time of year. But is it actually really more expensive than your peak summertime bill? We verify. Our sources are Gary Whitley with Huntsville Utilities, Fox 54's Weather Impact Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman, Alabama Power, and Real Estate Statistics. According to Real Estate Statistics, the average electric bill in Alabama in the winter is just under $195. Compare that to summer bills in Alabama, which average about $129. But it's not that simple. There are many factors involved in calculating a utility bill. We spoke with Gary Whitley with Huntsville Utilities about these factors.
Every home is different. Everyone's consumption is different. It just totally depends on the outside air temperature and how you consume that energy in your home and how well your home is insulated.
So why aren't summer utility bills as pricey as winter bills, at least on average? According to Alabama Power, when it's cold outside, your heating system has to work harder to make up the difference between outside and indoor temperatures. For example, heating your home from 40 degrees outside to 70 degrees inside is a 33-degree difference. But cooling your home from 85 degrees to 72 in the summer is only a 13-degree difference. The bigger gap means your system runs longer and uses more energy to keep you comfortable. One customer tells us his highest utility bill so far this year have been February and August. He says that on average, in the winter, he heats his home to around 64 degrees. His utility bill this February was $210. In the summer, he cools his home to around 72 degrees. His utility bill this August was $204. So we can verify that heating your home in the winter is more expensive than cooling it in the summer. Whitley shared some tips on how to keep your bills down this holiday season.
We recommend during this time of the year that HVAC units are set at 68 during this winter season. So the optimum energy efficiency, they're at 68 degrees. Be mindful at your homes as we prepare for the winter season to winterize your home.
It's that time of year. Christmas enthusiasts like our very own Emily Owen have already put up all their decor, including the tree. But even if you're waiting until Thanksgiving is over to deck the halls, most of us will be putting some lights up in our homes. But is it safe to leave them on while you're at work or school? Let's verify. Twinkling lights transform neighborhoods into winter wonderlands this time of year. But should those festive displays stay lit when no one's home to enjoy them? It's questions you may have asked yourself. Is it safe to leave Christmas lights on when you're not home? Let's verify. Our sources are Trent Bennett with Huntsville Fire and Rescue and Dr. Kelly Griffith with Decatur Animal Care. Bennett tells us that yes, leaving lights on for long periods of time does increase the risk of a fire caused by overheating, which can ignite nearby combustibles like your Christmas tree, curtains, or decorations. Extension cords used for holiday decor can cause arcing, short circuits, and ignition of surrounding materials if they're damaged. Bennett advises us not to leave Christmas lights on while we're asleep. He says most fatal fires occur between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., making this a dangerous time to have additional fire hazards in your home. Bennett says best practice is to turn off your Christmas lights before going to bed. He recommends using UL-listed lights because they meet the highest safety standards for wiring, heat output, and insulation integrity. And he encourages us to inspect all light strands and make sure they're not frayed, have loose bulbs, melted plastic, or exposed copper. He also recommends using LED lights instead of incandescent lights, as this reduces the heat output and electrical load. Finally, he warns not to overload outlets and power strips. But fires aren't the only danger Christmas lights pose. They can also be harmful for your pets. Dr. Griffith tells us Christmas lights can cause thermal burns in your pet's mouth, tongue, and gums if they chew on the wires. There's also a concern for electric shock, which could singe hair and whiskers and cause heart arrhythmia, respiratory problems, muscle tremors, and seizures. While this can happen to any pet, it's most common in kittens, cats, and puppies. So we can verify that no, it is not safe to leave your Christmas lights on when you're not home. Earlier this week, the Madison City Council met to discuss the traffic problems caused by railroad crossings in this city. Many of us have been there, whether it's on your way to work, inevitably when you're already running late, or just trying to get to town. A train parked at a crossing means either an indefinite wait or a lengthy detour. But can the city even do anything about that? Do they have any control over railroad crossings? Let's verify. We all know that feeling when you hear the train horn and you know what's coming. A long wait at a railroad crossing or a detour around the tracks if you're impatient. While sitting at one of those crossings, you may have asked yourself, who controls these things anyway? Can cities stop trains from stopping at crossings? We verify. Our sources are the Federal Railroad Administration, the City of Madison's Code of Ordinances, and the Interstate Commerce Commission Termination Act. First, who even owns the railroad? In Madison, Norfolk Southern owns the railroad, including the bridges, signals, and other infrastructure. But why do their trains park at railroad crossings at all? Common reasons include crew changes, waiting for track clearance, and mechanical issues. Sometimes the size of the train means it just won't fit in sidings or yards. The FRA is an agency within the U.S. Department of Transportation responsible for ensuring safety in railroad operations and promoting railroad infrastructure development. But the FRA has set no general time limit for how long a train can block a crossing. There is no federal law that puts a limit on how long a train can block a crossing either. The only federal restriction, trains cannot block crossings in a way that obstructs emergency vehicles' access, but even this is difficult to enforce and rarely invoked. Since federal law doesn't address the matter, many states and municipalities have passed their own laws limiting blocked crossings. For example, the City of Madison has an ordinance that says, quote, "It shall be unlawful for any person to block or obstruct any public road or street crossing in the city with a railroad train or car for a period of more than 5 minutes," end quote. But it's a law without any real authority. Courts have repeatedly ruled that cities, states, and counties have no authority to impose their will on the railroads. Legal challenges focus on three main reasons. Railroads argue that federal law takes the lead in governing interstate commerce. Courts have generally sided with railroads, finding that such local regulations interfere with federally regulated railroad operations. And the Interstate Commerce Commission Termination Act gives railroads broad protections from local regulation. According to this law, states and cities generally cannot regulate railroad operations, even when those operations affect local communities like Madison. So we can verify that no, local municipalities cannot prevent trains from stopping at railroad crossings. And if you have something you want us to verify, text us at 256-382-2692.
Catch full episodes of Trending Topics streaming on Fox 54 Plus on demand Monday through Fridays, where we talk about the hottest happenings and we give you our hottest takes. From movies and TV to music and fashion, we're always talking about something.